Hello viewers, today we're going to be cleaning and servicing a Holmes twin window fan. This is model HAWF2021, and this is the first one I've ever seen that has locked bearings. So we're going to have to get in here and service this, clean out the bearings, lubricate them, and then I imagine after that it'll be good as new. So these are a little bit of a chore to get apart. There's quite a few screws and a couple of annoyances that are present when trying to remove the clips for the accordion panels. So anyways, we'll get these screws out here. We got one here, 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 and here, and then there's one up on the handle, one on the side, and two there at the bottom. All the screws are removed, and now it splits open from the right side if you're looking at it from the back. And Holmes claims that this is sufficient to clean it. I strongly disagree with that. So what I'm going to do is remove the clips here that hold the accordion side panel in place. And once we remove these, we'll be able to split the whole thing apart and get a good cleaning on it. So there's really no good way to remove these clips, and they're not intended to come off, so they really just don't come off easily whatsoever. And I'm very concerned about this particular model. These are yellowed, so they're probably very brittle. What I usually do here, and again, this is not a good way to do it. There is no good way that I know of. But what I generally do is I gotta get this closed up again, and I don't know why it's not closing. No, it's good enough. What I normally do is take a common screwdriver and slip it under the top and kind of, yeah, see, this isn't going to work because it's just going to break. You know, it's a shame these fans aren't made to be serviced because they're relatively expensive. I would not by any means consider this in the price level of a disposable product. Perhaps I can kind of push the clips out this way, and maybe I really don't want these to break, because once they break there's no way to keep the side panels in place. Well, this one just broke. Cracked right there. I really wasn't even applying that much force to it. Well, that's unfortunate. I guess I'm not going to worry about it now. And did the other one just break as I was doing that? Nope, the other one's not broken quite yet. I'd like to get it off without breaking. At some point, I gotta go around and design some kind of a replacement clip or something for these, because I have a lot of these fans and I use them regularly. And this is a constant source of frustration every year. This one's probably going to end up breaking too. Alright, I think this clip turned out okay. So it should still work with one of them, just one. It's annoying, but we'll get by. Alright, so this and this I'm just going to wash in the bathtub. You can also run this through the dishwasher, pressure washer outside, whatever cleaning method you have available. And now what I'm going to do is strip everything out that's electrical from the inside and put the front guard through the bathtub as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the blades. Now this one looks like it has some kind of a corrosion in the shaft, so who knows what kind of difficulty is going to get presented here. But with this, what I typically do is take another flat screwdriver, common head screwdriver, and I just kind of gently pry this up. And remove that. Now, of course, it's probably not going to come off that easily, but there's nothing else holding it onto the shaft at this point. So with a little bit of force, it does kind of just come off. Now, curiously enough, these blades have almost no dirt on them compared to what's on the guards, so I don't know, maybe this was cleaned at some point or what. It's kind of strange. We'll wash that. Do the same thing to the other motor here. Just gonna gently pry this up. And pull this off. Alright, now we have a strain relief here holding this cord in. I'm going to remove that. It's not visible in the frame, that's cool. And there is a glue keeping this in place. I'm just going to kind of pull it off. And if need be, I will put some more back in later, but I think it'll be fine. It's got those tabs there. It should stay in place relatively well. So after that, we got the motors. These motors are disgusting. And the motor on the other side. And we got oh, this is tie wrapped onto there. I don't like that. Alright, I'll just cut that off. And there's a little bit more glue up here at the top. Again, I'm just going to pull that off, and then I'm flying across the room. And this whole switch assembly is going to come out with the motor. So now all the electrical is removed, so I can take this and run this in the dishwasher or the bathtub or whatever. Get all the plastic parts cleaned off relatively easily, and then we'll deal with the motors by hand. For the motors, I want to just go through and clean them off a little bit first. This is actually rusted out, so this was not taken care of very well by any means. Now, in order to get to the bearings, to pull them off, there's a C-clip here that's got to get removed. So I'm going to take a set of pliers here and just kind of pull that off. And this is very, very dirty, so it may be kind of difficult to get the bearing to slide off. There's a lot of hair on the shaft as well. Alright, let's try to remove the bearings and see what happens. Oh dear, they're really tight on there. Okay, so that's not even wanting to go past the slit in the shaft there. That's not going to come off. I don't know why, but it's not worth trying to jam it off and then breaking something, so I'll just leave it on there and try to get as much of this dust off as I can. It's not really spinning at all right now. I'm going to get out the oil for fans. As you can see here, this oil is for fans, whereas the other kind of oil in the red can is not for fans. This is the blue can. Blue, not red. This may or may not free up, it may need to be cleaned. And if that's the case, then I have to somehow get in there and clean it out. And as you can see here, it is not really freeing up at all. So that means I definitely have to get in there and clean it out. So I'm just going to have to force this off the shaft, which is not really what I want to do, but it'll work. And then I may have to shave down the edge of the shaft there because it's got some rust on it. I can't get this to just, oh, there we go, perfect. Okay, so now I can clean the shaft off and get rid of all that grime that's on there that's causing it to run slowly. I'm going to pull off these little washers here and clean these as well, because these will create friction in there if these are dirty, which they are very dirty. And this is kind of a little bit of a lengthy and tedious process, but you don't want to cut corners here, because if this stuff isn't working right, the whole thing's not going to run well. And there is kind of like a rubber washer in here as well. So pull that one off and clean this. Okay, and now this is actually a task, the cleaning of this is a task for detergent oil in the red and black can. I'm going to put some detergent oil all over here, if any of it wants to come out. Okay, I'll put some on the back, and I'm going to clean the shaft with this detergent oil. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this as well. I take a ticker towel and kind of turn it into a cylindrical shape, and then I just feed this through here and let it clean it. This bearing is actually kind of scratched up a little bit. I don't know if that's from the removal process or if that's why it's not working initially. So this may not work as well as it should, but it's got a better chance of working now than it did before. And the rear bearing has the same selection of washers that have to get cleaned. And make sure you don't lose orientation of this motor, because if you put this stuff in backwards, it's going to turn backwards. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe this off a little bit more. It's very rusty and it's never going to look good again, so I'm just going to get the major accumulations of dust off that will block heat dissipation, and the rest I'm not going to really worry about. This was definitely used in some kind of a harsh environment. Okay, so that's good enough for that. Now we're going to go back to using the fan oil in a blue can, and actually let's clean this off a little bit better as well. Okay. Don't think... Oh, these actually do have different numbers on them. So, the rear bearing I'm going to put on like that. And I'm going to apply a drop of oil on here first. And then I'm going to put these washers back on. It's still relatively tight, but that bearing is certainly as clean as it can be. And we'll follow the same process for the front bearing. Okay. So now I'll put the screws back in. And it's probably going to be pretty stiff when you first try to use it, so I'm going to take a screwdriver, a plastic handle one, just kind of hit the shaft around a little bit, and that should free it up back into alignment. Put a little bit more oil in there, just because of how dry this was. I want to make sure there's plenty to soak into the bearings. Now this should spin much more freely than it did before. As you can see here, it certainly is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other motor now and bring that one back to life. At this point, everything has been cleaned. The only thing I could not get to clean up was one side of this accordion panel has some specks on it in the folds there, and I can't get those off. So we'll just reverse this around so that the junky side is on the outside. And I cleaned this hard. I could not get it to come off. I don't know what that is. Anyways, done with the oils. We can put those away. The fan oil and the non-fan oil. And let's see if I can get this cleaned up here. We're going to begin the reassembly process now. The reassembly is complete and we're ready to do a final test. The clips, the wonderful clips, are both broken. Now this one is cracked. There's a crack in the same place the other one cracked. Interestingly enough, this one still works just fine even though it's broken. And so does this one. I was thinking I'm going to have to maybe just pull this out and then glue it in place to where it fits the window, but it doesn't seem to be an issue. I guess it's going to work just fine. I'll start it up on high. And it runs now. Let's try low. Whoops, that's off. The bearings are not too happy. And maybe they'll free up as it runs over time. I may have to go in here again and oil it for a second time, just because of how locked up it was. I don't know, we'll see what happens. For now it's certainly usable, and considering what kind of a harsh environment this was probably used in previously, I think it's working quite well.